Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news making headlines today. President Lee Jae-myung has heavily criticized an incident where South Korean activists bound for Gaza were recently seized by Israeli forces. Presiding over a cabinet meeting on Wednesday, he accused Israel of taking the Korean people for no reasonable cause under international law, adding that they were not in Israeli territorial waters. The humanitarian aid flotilla carrying to South Korean activists was recently seized by Israeli forces on its way to the Gaza Strip. Korea's benchmark KOSPI saw volatile trading on Wednesday, following news that bonus mediation talks between Samsung Electronics' labor union and management had collapsed. Shares of the tech giant fell as much as 4.36% at one point, but later recovered to close up 0.18%. As the heaviest weighted stock on the index, the broader KOSPI reflected this fluctuation during the day. However, it eventually narrowed the gap to end the session at 7,208.95, down 0.86% from the previous close. Market volatility is expected to continue depending on whether the two sides can reach a compromise, the key factor that could lead to a broader recovery in both Samsung shares and the KOSPI. A Korean oil tanker has passed through the Strait of Hormuz and is continuing its voyage, after Seoul called on Tehran to ensure safe passage through the strategic waterway. The foreign ministry says the vessel crossed the strait on Wednesday, with around 10 Korean crew members on board. Seoul has continued requesting the safety and free navigation of all vessels, including Korean ships, through 4 phone calls between foreign ministers, the dispatch of a special envoy to Tehran, and diplomatic channels involving both countries' foreign ministries and embassies. The vessels known to be the HMM-operated tanker Universal Winner, which had earlier been stranded near Qatar. Seoul says no fee has paid to Tehran for this transit. Earlier on Wednesday, Foreign Minister Choi Hyun told the National Assembly Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee that the tanker set sail on Tuesday, carrying roughly 2 million barrels of crude oil. The government plans to continue working with Iran and other relevant countries to ensure the safety and passage of Korean vessels still in the strait. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin said the two countries' relations have reached an unprecedentedly high level at a joint press conference following the summit in Beijing. The two leaders also signed a series of agreements covering trade, technology, and strategic cooperation, including a declaration calling for a more multipolar world order. In their joint declaration, Moscow and Beijing warned against what they called the return of the law of the jungle, criticizing some countries' attempts to manage the world unilaterally and impose their interests on the entire world. With one day left till official campaigning begins for the June 3rd local and parliamentary by-elections, both ruling and main opposition parties moved into full campaign mode. The ruling Democratic Party said the nationwide elections will serve as the first major political test since the launch of the Lee Jae-myung administration, as the party plans to campaign on themes of judging the insurrection and reviving the people's livelihoods. The main opposition People Power Party argued that another victory for the DP would allow the government and the ruling party to dominate not only the executive and legislative branches, but also local governments. The party added it would focus its campaign on the need to keep the administration in check. Meanwhile, the National Election Commission chairman pledged a fair and transparent election management ahead of the official campaign period, ensuring the election becomes an opportunity for national unity. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.